Hello everyone, my name is RagingRaptor and I welcome you to a new World of Tanks video, and today we have once again a questions and answers. This time it is from the Asian region. It was held on the 22nd of May, and well, today we are going to have a look at what's going on really. Again, it was from the 22nd of May. I did got a transcript yesterday, so I made today morning the start on working on our trusty, PowerPoint presentation. So yeah, the table of contents today. We have the introduction of the two people we are going to talk about. We are talking about Halftracks, new wheeled tanks which are coming maybe in 2021, PvE modes, historical battles, the Japanese TDs, smoke grenades and MGs, amphibious vehicles, modern tanks, night battles, weather effects, Polish and Czechoslovak tanks, and some more things. So yeah, talking about timestamp, this time I'm going to do them myself. I would like if somebody is willing to go through my video beforehand and would do them for myself or for me, please let me know. I will leave a link to the Discord where I am residing at. It would help me a ton out because going through two videos of this length to get the timestamps ready might be a little bit too much. So yeah. Talking about the introduction of the two people which did the Q&A, it is once again Andrei Bilecki, which is the World of Tanks creative director which is working 6 years at Wargaming. He's also the guy we are talked about in the interview with Zircon, so yeah, go over to that video if you want to know more about Andrei Bilecki. Maxim Jubalov, on the other hand, is the publishing director, and he is now for 10 plus years at Wargaming, but not much else was said. Now let's talk about Halftracks. They are saying there are no plans for those tanks. They are mostly infantry vehicles, and this is why they think they are too weak and basically the gameplay will be painful. They also say that maybe it could be a niche in future PvE modes, and as far as I remember, there was also something said about, well, they aren't that much fun to look at without any crews operating them, which is kind of makes sense, but on the other hand, I'm like, meh. You know, the Panzerselbstfahrerfette right here, or this Panzer-Sonderkraftfahrzeug with the 88cm gun, or 8.8cm gun, could really work as a tier 5 or even a tier 6 premium tank if it's balanced properly, so I don't really know what exactly is standing in the way. Obviously, Halftracks, they will most likely be mid-tier premiums or mid-tier tanks. So, now the first big news, new wheeled tanks. Yes, there are plans for UK wheeled tanks. Sadly not this year, we already know this from last Q&A. And it's very, very interesting. They say as their basic idea, the British try to put heavy armament on such platforms. So this is why they consider them to be the next wheeled tank. However, they did point out EBRs were meant to be active and aggressive spotters, while this UK wheeled tanks will most likely be something in the line of medium tanks and were not suited for fast and active, aggressive spotting. I also do want to point out that there are tons of wheeled tanks as well. I am citing right now or looking at things like from War Thunder, where they also have wheeled tanks. I know, for example, that the Germans could have not only the Puma series, they could also have tanks like the Radkampfpanzerwagen or Kampfpanzerwagen 90, which is basically a wheeled chassis with a Leopard 1 turret on it. And I'm sure that with proper maintenance, with proper balancing, you could have a great medium tank, which is like a counterpart to the Leopard 1 we have right now, with maybe a less alpha damage gun and a little bit or equal mobility, who knows. They are also saying if there aren't any ideas for new tanks, they look in their storage. That's literally what they said. They have like a booklet full of ideas, and I'm certain that tanks or tank trees like the one for the Swiss could be in this storage box. Now, talking about the PvE mode. There are no plans for a permanent PvE mode. They said before adding this, it has to be good. And let's be honest, the current PvE mode wasn't good at all. The next thingy is about improved AI for PvP bots. This is more important for Asia, NA, and Aussie servers. So yeah, they are saying that the PvE are simplified PvP bots. PvE are using predetermined actions, which we did see while the PvP bots have to analyze their environment. And lastly, if IT gets better, the PvP bots gets better as well, because obviously there is tons of calculating they have to do for these bots to be effective. Talking about historical battles, it won't return. They did say or did point out that Road to Berlin is now such a game mode which basically tries to emulate a historical battlefield. The main reason the fail of the historical battle mode was that nobody wanted to play the BT7 or the Panzer III, because everybody wanted to play the IS and Tiger 1. Going back to the statement of a one Q&A back, where they said, well, people want to have a power moment, and that's literally how you get a power moment. I do think you could, in theory, try to make historical battles again, where you just randomly assign things to other people, but then again you would have the same problem where, for example, you are like 5 games in a row, you are in a garbage tank, and your like monster tanks like the Tiger 1 and the SIS are just simply useless, and you're constantly losing, aka you're getting fed up. Now, next up we have the Japanese TDs. They are currently in development, but not this year. Looking through archives, sadly there is not much there. They understand the community wants them, and that is good. And here we have something in cursive, which is my personal note on this one. It's kind of funny. Japanese TDs are already in World of Tanks Blitz, so I don't understand why they still have to research them. Because they also said in the Q&A that they have to still research. Again, they have to go through the archives and see what is going on. Now, are they saying that the World of Tanks Blitz TDs are like fake? Or that they simply do not work with World of Tanks Blitz, even though it's the same name? It's kind of weird, you know? It's really kind of weird because to me, the TDs on Blitz, they look like ready-made. They just have to remodel the tanks to be HD and, well, shuffle around some numbers to make them balance. But I don't really understand what the issue is, really. I do not understand, even though they already have a working line in World of Tanks Blitz from tier 7 on. So maybe they say we need a tier 5 or a tier 6 one to make it look better in our personal check tree. I don't know. I'm a little bit confused about the statement that they still have to look through archives. So this is a big one. Smoke grenades and MGs. Let's talk about the MGs first, because they said there is a big no. They did make a prototype. It could penetrate armor and it could track people. However, it didn't go into internal testing. It still was just a prototype, but it might be reconsidered if there is a lot of feedback from the players that they want to see this. I think MGs could be very interesting addition. Again, they could be there to try and detrack people, because in the end you would maybe need to pump in like 50 MG rounds to try and detrack somebody. So it could be an interesting feature. It could also be very, very cool and a counter method against tanks like the EBRs, because they're so lightly armored, the MG rounds should go straight through. And I don't know, maybe say that, I don't know, like a 1 MG does maybe 3 damage or something. So you could start to rack up, like if you hit 50 rounds, you can do what, like 150 damage, but then again, try to hit 50 rounds. I don't know. It could be an idea. Maybe they reconsider it, as they said, but yeah. About smoke grenades, and this is very interesting. They already say, well, guys, we already have it in game, and it's in Frontline. But they are considering implementing them into randoms, which is very, very interesting in my personal opinion. Either for most tanks or only special ones, they don't know yet. I do want to point out that there are a lot of tanks already in the game having the smoke grenade launchers modeled. Like here, for example, Leopard 1. Those little things right here, smoke grenade launchers. However, how would you implement them? What would be their purpose? How would they work in random games? Will they be any effective? Will they be OP? Will they be underpowered? You know? They might also say that there could be a special mode, which means that tank fight and airplay ones would appear at the same time. Again, it really depends if Wargaming actually and actively is developing smoke grenades. Heck, they might even say, you know what, we'll make just a new tank line which has this as a gimmick, because lately Wargaming really does want to work on gimmicks. Like, let's be honest, the EBR were a new gimmick, the double barrel tanks were a new gimmick. The Manticore were a new gimmick of being absolute trash. But yeah. There was also a question about amphibious vehicles, and they say basically there isn't many maps which have water in it, so there is no real use for amphibious vehicles, so no amphibious vehicles for now. Well, you know, you could make some maps which could work with amphibious vehicles, so I don't really know exactly you would need to remodel some maps or make new maps which actively support this, because let's be honest, the Lynx, he is an amphibious vehicle. If you look closely, you can see that behind it there are 2 propellers which are used to propel this vehicle when it is in the waters. And this would also explain why this tank is so bulky, in my personal opinion, but you know, who knows. Modern tanks, Vietnam and Cold War, and they say yes, Vietnam is definitely on the menu. The best real information right here is the M60. It was in the Vietnam War, T-55A, as far as what I know, was in the Vietnam. The Cold War era, the problem is they want to say there are no smoothbore guns. Not only are they inaccurate and they're just way too powerful. That's what they said in the interview. They also say there will not be any composite armor and no active protection. Which makes sense, even though sometimes active protection would be good to counter like HE spammers or have like a specific gimmick for a tank class or like for a tank tree where you could say, yo, they are very, very good against heat spammers. So like, I don't know, they would be very good at countering Russian tanks because they all have premium rounds which are heat, you know? And interestingly enough, they didn't specify in this Q&A that they don't want to have autocannons, because I think if you could in theory implement autocannons very, very well in higher tiers. I think they already dipped their toes into autocannon territory with the Convenanter at tier 5, and I did play it, and it was actually fun. It was a unique, sometimes awkward, sometimes underperforming performance, but it was fun. Like, it was actually fun, and I think on tier 10 you could implement something like the Swedish have autocannons. I think Germany had autocannons. You could implement autocannons with having much better accuracy than obviously the Convenanter. Good penetration, but very low alpha damage. Like, maybe say they have like 100 alpha damage or even 50. And say that maybe they have a 6-round magazine with 50 damage, which would lead to around 300 damage in, I don't know, let's say like 3 seconds. It's hard to explain or hard to think about it right now if you're just coming up with it. But it could be very, very interesting, I think. However, I do want to point out the quote they said. If we add something with no weak spots or which can pen everything, we ruin the core experience. So why did you exactly implement the 430U? I do know Wargaming is planning to nerf it, even though the nerfs are just like gimmicky. Like, the cupola still needs to get nerfed way the hell down, at least one. One cupola has to be as weak as around 220 millimeters of effective armor. And again, we're talking about composite armor. I don't really know in what universe a cupola can have 250 plus millimeters of effective armor. Like, again, it makes no sense if you don't use composite armor. Because just the thickness and the weight, just a big fat no. The best example is, look at the cupola of the Object 268 version 4. It's such a small little thingy, which apparently has 250 millimeters of frontal armor. That makes no sense. But that's Wargaming for you. In-game replay viewer, they're saying the closing decline to watch replays is annoying. You are correct. The system is outdated and the fix is wanted, but the system is complicated, and I'm going to make a spelling error right there. However, it has no priority, which is a little bit sad, but what can we do? Now another big thing, night battles and weather effects. Night battles are on console, and however, sadly, I don't know who said that, but they say personally they don't like them. The biggest issue is that tank outlines ruin the immersion, which kind of makes sense, but then again, it's just visuals, you know, you don't really have to have them. There is, however, an event being worked on this year, and which in the context of this answer will most likely include night battles. Maybe it's the Halloween event, which would make the most sense because, ooh, spooky, it's dark outside, you don't know what is going to happen. Who knows? Now the other question or the answer is weather effects. Weather affecting tank stats. They think it's not a good idea. Additionally, randomness is never good. And they also specified that in every single game you have different peoples with different goals, like spotting, like doing damage, etc, etc, etc. So, for example, having a weather out there which prohibits spotting may or may not be a good idea. Look, the issue is with that, I know in World of Warships, I'm not entirely sure how liked it is, the weather effects. I do kind of like the idea of a cyclone. Like, it is fun because it mixes a map up. Suddenly you have to go get close and personal with people. Obviously, it affects other ships. For example, the Germans are suddenly getting much stronger because they are made for brawling. Or some ships with torpedoes are suddenly getting a lot stronger because of the cyclone, because they can get into range where they can use them. And again, this is why I personally think randomness on the map isn't that bad like it is randomness in the core mechanic. Like, let's imagine randomness on the maps rather or could promote diversity, especially in the current situation where we simply have so many maps which we play over and over and over and over and over again without being anything new or exciting. So I really don't know exactly what they think about. I think that weather affected maps might be a good idea to bring up the diversity and the difference in between the different maps, you know? I don't know, let's look at Ghost Town. In theory, you could try and make a Ghost Town version which has water in it, because you say, oh yeah, there was a huge drought in the normal Ghost Town, and now it's all coming back together, and screw climate change, suddenly we have water again. Who knows? You could kind of like make other areas inaccessible because of too much water, and something like that. Obviously, on winter maps, you could come up with things like a winter storm. I don't know how exactly it's going to affect the game. You could, in theory, even make it like encounter and random and attack battles, like a different separate game mode where you say, yeah, for example, in a winter map, and suddenly there's a winter storm, you will have a hard time looking, or you have a hard time spotting, or I don't know. Let's for example say the spotting range stays the same in a winter map. Range stays the same. Everything stays the same. The only thing which is changing is how quickly people will get unspotted again. Because as far as I know, it's around 10 seconds. Maybe let's say it's half when it's raining, or it's I don't know. It's wintry outside, like it's snowing. Because then you're not really touching the core mechanic of the gameplay, but you're adding a twist to it. Like you make it diverse, you make it a little bit more interesting. And maybe you're saying on maps where there is a winter storm, some things are happening. Like some areas are a little bit more sluggish to drive through. Like they're having, instead of medium soft stats, hard soft stats to make it a little bit more unpassable, for example. I think, personally speaking, that in weather FX, if they would do something smart, you could make a ton of new maps without actively doing anything, you know? Like the same thing with Misc. You could say, yo, we don't really like Misc how it is right now. We are going to introduce drought Misc. Because of climate change, everything is hotter, and suddenly the riverbed has nothing in it anymore. They are trying this right now with a rework of Misc. But then again, you could say, yeah, it's drought. I don't know. Heck, you could even say that, for example, when it's in a drought scenario, that, for example, you, instead of getting spotted for 10 seconds, you get spotted for 15 seconds because your shiny armor is reflecting more. Again, just ideas I'm throwing out right now. Another topic, restricting SPG numbers. Once again, they're saying nope, because limiting it to 3 per side means that there are more games without RD. Limiting it to 2 RTs per side would mean more games with RDs. And yes, 95% of the battles would be with SPGs when you only have 2 maximum, and fear of having even quicker games because people start to group more. By the way, this is a BS answer. It doesn't matter. Like, again, it's randoms. People are not going to look, like, seriously, people are not going to do social distancing on the tanks. Like, what the hell are you talking about? Fear of having even quicker games because suddenly people are not used to playing against more RDs. Like, this makes no sense, really. This makes really no sense. 2 RDs would be a maximum because 3 are simply cancerous, period. And I'd rather play more games with 2 and 1 RDs than having to play more games, or even having to play games with 3 artilleries, period. That's my personal opinion on that topic. And I think, and as far as I know, a lot of people are also thinking like that. But yeah, people grouping more because there are less RDs around is just a stupid argument. Because literally most games are panning out the same way, where people are going in normal positions, and if there is RD, well, they're getting fucked over harder. And if there's no RD, they don't get fucked over, period. Like, I don't get this answer, really. But they think 3 SPGs is a sweet spot, and again I'm saying, please test your hypothesis, which you didn't, so please do it without always saying blah 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 blah, we are always right. But yeah. Talking about the EBRs, well, they said question is popular as RNG and SPGs, and again, the plan changes are already revealed. And here I have to say, watch Circon's interview, or you can watch my breakdown of the interview. It's already was being told. They have 2 plans, one of which being making them less mobile, the other one being nerfing their ability to shoot on a move or doing damage. Limiting gold ammo per battle, here they say it's a bad idea because in their eyes only 15% of ammo used is special ammo. It could lead to lower tiers having not enough ammo against higher tiered ones, which is again a little bit awkward, but then again please introduce again weak spots, which you don't do at the moment, which is stupid. But yeah, on average a player shoots 33% of their ammo load, and of those 33%, 15 are gold rounds. So again, of those 13%, another 15% are just gold rounds, so it's not that much in their eyes. They want to incentive players to use normal rounds, and they want to do this with reworking the premium rounds in general, and not just limiting the gold ammunition. So what about capture the flag or search and destroy? They did point out that lately they are introducing new modes to test those things out. Heck, even the new 7-66 tournament thingy looks very, very promising. They are saying mechanics being tested on those modes, like destroying cannons in Frontline, which is literally search and destroy. They're all tests of some mechanics, so yeah, we should keep our eyes out when we see something new, because it could be an underlying test for a new upcoming mechanic. New customization in general. 1.9.1 brings adjustable 2D styles, so this is a great thing. However, they say that they want to increase customization until they hit a physical barrier, because this is the point where they have to completely rebuild the game to keep on adding things to customize. They, however, say 80% of the players do not adjust their tanks manually, they just use pre-made styles. Again, question is, how many of those 80% are free-to-play players, are paid players, or people which actively support the game with gold purchases? Because that would be an interesting incentive, because if you say 80% of the players don't adjust their tanks, well, you could say, well, logically, because many free-to-play players just get styles gifted to them, so they're going to use that. Obviously, they're not going to pay money because they're free-to-play players. In general, they say the devs wanted to add more, but in reality, they said no one cares. Which again is a bollocks answer, because I know a lot of people which want to have customization, and in the end, customization is a very, 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 very good way to, monetize the game without making it pay to win. Hello, Wargaming, please. I don't know. They are thinking, however, about expanding the system, so yeah. Not now, however. Talking about the Frontline map, well, it will be added soon to random games. A prototype is being tested, and there is a desire to add a better communication system, and it is inspired by Apex Legends. Sadly, I do not play Apex Legends, so people write down in the comment section below what exactly this is. Tank parts falling off, dents, etc. There is a chance for that. It will be looked closer into. By the way, this right here is a screenshot of a tech demo from like 4 or 5 years ago, where they newly introduced Havoc. We're still waiting for such features where, for example, things can fall off your tank. However, they're saying it's not an immediate matter, some hindrances which can't go past. Like, I understand that like dents on the armor are not logical. Like, they aren't, I don't think they are actively or being able to be implemented into the current game, because of the limitations of the engines they are using, which makes sense. But still, things falling off, you showed with Havoc it's working, partially. So I'm just sitting here like, come on, Wargaming. Japanese style map. There are no plans for 2020, maybe 2021, but this is not sure. They are focusing on event maps right now, and this takes time. Again, look, you're doing an event, which is great. But, events are just events which are like, I don't know, 3 weeks, 4 weeks here of like 52, while random maps are like 52 out of 52 weeks. I personally suggest have a better focus on real maps, on random maps, and not just on event maps. However, there is a focus on renovating older maps, which have a higher priority on the queue right now. So maybe we will see Hidden Village again, who knows? Talking about region-specific events like Clan Wars, and they are saying yes, it's already present. Specific regions have adjusted rules, which makes sense. There are, however, limitations. Like, you can't say that Russia has a completely different Clan Wars event than Europe or NA, which makes sense because then you have to do 3 different clan wars versions, and this means a lot more data, a lot more resources being used, and a lot more testing for something which is only for high level games or like for the end game content. Global chat and horns, maybe they come back. If players' reactions, again made a little, okay, my bad, are positive, chat or horns might come back for real. Again, I think global chat was a fun experience, and let's be honest, if people are toxic in global chat or like having all chat, you know, they will get reported even quicker and get banned even quicker. So I don't really know what exactly is holding you back. In World of Warships it's working, so why shouldn't it in World of Tanks? I don't know. Well, here we come to one of the bigger news. Actually, Wargaming did say in this Q&A that they are also looking into Czechoslovakian tanks. Like, the Czechs are getting new tanks this year. Their plan is to expand smaller trees, and this year we are going to get Italian heavy tanks, we are going to get Polish tanks, and we are going to get Czechoslovak tanks. The more infos are coming very, 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 very soon, which they said in this Q&A, and I'm personally very looking forward to see what new tanks this will be, because I was just thinking this year, okay, we're getting Italians and we're getting Polish, that's it, because we already get a new tree, which was the double-barreled. So suddenly we're also getting Czechoslovak tanks, which are most likely to be heavies or lights, because I highly doubt it will be TDs or RDs. And most likely for the Polish, we are going to get medium tanks, but what are they going to do with them? Will they be once again napkin drawings? Who knows? And for the Italian tanks, I don't have an idea either, but most likely will have an auto-reloading system, so they might be very strong, who knows. However, if you made it so far into this video, I would like to say, you know what, it might be a good idea to subscribe to my channel, because I try to give you the info as quick as possible and as accurate as possible. So yeah, if you enjoy the content, then well, consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. So, mechanic for countering SPG was also a question, and they would say, well, it would just give birth to a situation where RT only focuses RT, and it would be bad as there would be no more RT support. I do want to point out that this makes sense, because let's just look at World of Warships, where they right now have this 998 anchoring thingy, where you have one fast CV. CV is kind of like artillery in World of Warships, and they have like 2 long-range BBs, and you're literally just focusing them at the beginning of the game, and in 2 minutes 30 seconds, you basically have killed the enemy carrier. Again, I would highly incentive look for Euro's video, because it's very, very fun, very good editing if you know World of Warships stuff, and you 100% know him if you are into World of Warships stuff. Now, helping flipped tanks. There are plans. They do not want to make it a magic trick button. They want to have something which matches the in-game universe, in-game canon. So this could improve, or this could also include improved communication with allies, which makes sense. And I really hope they will be introducing something like not only a button. I want to have like a rope, which lets you flip over people easier. And obviously maybe take away the ability to just kill yourself when you are on your head. Like, if you're on your head, stop the timer. Like, don't have a timer at all. And if people do not want to live anymore, then let them press the J button for 15 seconds, you know. They would make a little bit more sense. But give the players an ability to unflip themselves with the help of allies. Like, again, a rope. So now let's come to the last section of the video, where we just have miscellaneous things. They say direct communication like streams are awesome, and they want to do it more often. This is not a sarcastic clap. I have to say, very well done that you actually understood this, because it's very, very important that you stay in touch with other regions, not just the Russian region, okay? We understand Russia is the biggest market, they have the most players, but then again, European market is rather big as well, and I now sound very, very racist or very, very nationalistic, but I think the numbers don't lie. I think that in Europe there is actually more money to be made than in Russia. I'm just not sure. Again, Russia has a very, very diverse population with a lot of people having a very small wage, so it's hard to say. Again, I do not want to sound very, very political, or I don't want to dive deep into this topic, but it's good to see that they are actively figuring out that they have to listen to other communities as well. In general, those streams are fun to watch and they are interesting. Again, please do them more, make them with an A again, wake them with other European CCs. I'm waiting. I really would like to do this. It would be very, very interesting, you know. But then again, I will most likely be too small. But then again, they're saying there's no difference between a small CC and a big CC, so who knows? Region exclusive events, obviously, for sure, they are there. And lastly, sources which helped creating tanks. Kubinka in Russia, Bovington in the UK, and Saumur in France are the biggest ones, while Stalinline near Minsk are also helpful, and private collectors and archives are very, very important. So yeah, now it's your time to shine and tell me, oops, this was the wrong one. There we go. Tell me, what can I do better? I do think that in this Q&A, I was going a little bit too fast, maybe. It was a lot of information once again, a lot of important information. Again, is there anything I can do different with the PowerPoint presentation type of style? It might be more of a podcast than anything else. And I hope I was able to give you a little bit something to look at with the added pictures to it. Obviously, it is important to me that you enjoy the video, and you could say, hey, you did a good job, you can maybe do this and this better. Again, nobody's perfect. Again, if anybody is willing to have like previous access to the video to help me do the timestamps for longer videos like this, I would be really, really looking forward to that one, because it takes away a lot of effort and time for me. Because I just have to go completely through the whole video again and see what did I do, like where are the specific points where I could literally just do the German version and be done with it and move on to another video or another stream, you know. But yeah, that's everything I'm having. Again, if you enjoy the video and if you think I am a good source for World of Tanks news, feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. My name is RagingRaptor, have a great day, and as always, thanks for watching.